Welcome into the Unintangibles Fantasy Football Show. We just finished week 3 almost. It's Monday night. I am your co-host, Jeff Shuella. I'm welcoming in Mo Aurora. Good evening, Mo. How are you?
Hey, Jeff. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm good.
So are you happy with your week 3 fortunes?
I was a bit up and down. In my main league, I had an okay week, but I went up against a really good team. And so I'm going to fall to 1 and 2 in that league, but I still like my team. I still feel pretty good. And my other 2 leagues, I think one of them might be kind of in doubt, but I think I'm going to win in both of those. So I'll be 3-0 in both of those, which would be good.
How's your panic level now? Do you have new panic levels on certain players? Like,
Well, let's see. Oh, excuse me. By the way, this show is brought to you by a drink that I grabbed that my wife gave a shot in the supermarket, some like flavored soda water drink, and the artificial sweetener in this is terrible. And we started the show. I needed something to drink.
I got a beer right here, so I'm doing it the right way. I got a Guinness. I'm drinking a Guinness. Cheers to you.
Cheers. So, panic level. Evan Engram got hurt, which is too bad. I have him in 2 leagues. He hasn't done much yet, but partly that's because he got hurt on his 1 catch yesterday. Sounds like he'll be a few weeks, which is tough, but it's manageable. In 1 league, I have Eric Ebron behind him in my bigger league.
Okay.
Ebron's okay, not great, but probably the best I can manage to do without making a trade right now.
Good fill-in.
What's that?
He's a good fill-in. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, he's an okay fill-in. In the 16-team league, I'll take him, you know? Exactly. And even if I were interested in an ad or a trade or anything like that, I'm not really looking to make a trade right now, especially for a fill-in tight end. But also in my league, because it's an auction keeper league, but it's really important. If you drop a player, then they don't have a salary anymore. They can't be kept. So it's kind of important not to make waiver moves hastily, because then if I keep dropping players that have a salary, I have less to trade.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna, like, load up at the end of the year, I need to have cheap, protectable assets to offer. So I'm like, I don't want to waste a waiver move or anything like that. Ebron's fine. I also picked up OJ Howard last week.
Nice. Okay.
Speculative ad. And I'm glad I did now, because we'll see how he does tonight. But I mean, I assume I'm going to want to roll him in week 4. So
yeah, we're an hour away from Tampa Bay hosting the Steelers tonight. So we're definitely a lot of fantasy implications. So a lot of matches that are definitely not settled yet. So
yeah, and I think that it's funny because, like, with anybody who's starting Steelers tonight, you expect it to be starting him tonight, but you're not feeling quite as confident. Maybe you're happy with Juju or like James Conner, but James Conner, you still worry he could turn into a pumpkin. Antonio Brown hasn't quite been himself, whatever, right? And then with anybody who's starting a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, unless it's Evans, you're probably reaching. Like, you're probably like, I did not expect to be, starting this waiver wire ad tonight, but hey, it's coming down to it. It's gonna be a shootout. I think everybody's gonna get their points.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it should be a very entertaining game. We have Fitzmagic against Roethlisberger. I'm a Le'Veon owner, as you know, and I'm now 0-3 in our co-league here.
Yeah.
I was actually offered David Johnson for Le'Veon straight up yesterday, and I didn't do it.
David Johnson for Le'Veon.
Yeah, straight up. And I this was before when I was 0-2, and now I'm 0-3. I didn't like the matchup against the Bears, and I was kind of proven right. I mean, DJ did score a touchdown, but he didn't do too much else. Maybe I'm just being stubborn and keeping Le'Veon. Now I see today that maybe the Jets are interested in trading for Le'Veon Bell. So I don't really know. I think for the future football rise, that could be a really good play there with Sam Darnold and Le'Veon. But
I think if Le'Veon were traded and then you knew he'd be playing the rest of this year, I think no matter where he went and what situation, you'd take it and you'd be happy, right? The only thing is there's a lot of franchise tag and salary and next contract. There's all sorts of business reasons that make a trade complicated. And I think part of that too is because a trade doesn't necessarily improve Bell's situation, because he's still looking at, I'm playing on the franchise tag, risking my body, unnecessary wear and tear. Maybe I get hurt before hit free agency. The only thing that changes is if he's on another team, then he's no longer on the Steelers, and maybe he just doesn't want to play for the Steelers anymore at this point. Which, if that's how he feels, fine, I get it. But so that's the only thing, right? It's
he's got a bitter taste in his mouth from the organization.
Definitely
possible the Jets. I'm sure he may sign that tender right now, but the Jets may give him the extension that he wanted. So,
okay. So this is what I'm unsure about. What I read somewhere is that he has to play on the franchise tag. Like even a team could not acquire him on the franchise tag and then sign him to an extension right away. That's what I read. I don't know if that's true because, and it only makes sense. That makes sense only because if that wasn't the case, I feel like a trade would have happened by now. Because some team who needs a running back now and would be happy to pay Bell for another couple of years would have accepted, would have made a trade and then signed him to an extension right away if they could, right? So the fact that it hasn't happened must mean that it can't. It must mean that if you're on the franchise tag, you have to play the whole year on the franchise tag. And if that's the case, man, the franchise tag sucks and it has to go.
Yeah. Oh, that's part of the CBA that, I think players don't like, especially players in those skill positions, probably even more so.
What would be a compromise at least? Because the NFL Players Association is a very weak union. Wouldn't be surprised if the leadership is league puppetry, but there's no way that the NFLPA could say do away with the franchise tag and the owners would go for it. But if you said you can only use the franchise tag on a player once, I think that's a compromise.
That is a compromise. That's a big step. Is the CBA up after this season, by the way? It's up soon.
I believe it's 2021, but now we're pulling numbers and facts out of our head that we don't know. But it's looming. It's looming. It's not right away, but it's looming.
Yeah, well, we'll see. The CBA needs to be adjusted and updated for sure. We'll see. That was ugly, man. And I'm pretty sure we won't get any games missed. There's too much at stake, too much money lost. So they better start negotiating now for when it gets started again.
Yeah, but I think all these players holding out, and everybody except Bell getting paid ultimately, I think that's a sign that the players are starting to realize that they're not replaceable, and it's because frankly, it's because of fantasy football and social media and stuff like that. Like the players are stars in their own right, even against the leagues, trying to prevent that. And I think now we're seeing I don't know, man. I don't want to play replacement player fantasy football. I really don't. If you do, then I think that you might like the game more than the sport. And I don't think. But
and Bortles will still be on the scab roster.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't want to be a scab fantasy player. I'll tell you that. I will cross the picket line.
We spent a lot of time talking about this, and let me just say that Le'Veon has ruined a lot of fantasy owners' seasons. A lot of fantasy owners are definitely pissed about Le'Veon, drafting him in the top 5 or keeping him or wherever you got him, and definitely he's tainted the season for a lot of fantasy owners. So
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I recognize that, and I recognize that people are pissed, and I think it's clouded discussion of this Le'Veon Bell situation because you have all these fantasy analysts all these fantasy players are mad. They're mad at Bell. They're like, no, he should sign. He's doing the wrong things. Blah, blah, blah. That's just because they want him on their team.
Yeah,
that's all it is, right? And with all these analysts who are like, oh, I'm all for players going out and getting their money, but I think he's hurting himself. Are you his agent? No, you're mad because you can't be right about Le'Veon Bell. That's all that is. And that makes me really upset. I think, look, I'll say this. I am not one to shy away from a complicated situation, apparently, as per my Josh Gordon obsession this year. But just to say, my whole point the whole time with the Josh Gordon thing is your second wide receiver is worth playing these kind of games with. If he can be a wide receiver one, maybe, right? I don't have Le'Veon Bell anywhere. I didn't pursue Le'Veon Bell anywhere. The way I see it, I think most complicated situations are worth avoiding if you can, because there's plenty of other players out there.
Except for Josh Gordon. That was a complicated situation. So
yes, but that was a complicated situation that you might it might cost you your 4th or 5th round pick.
Yeah, not your first overall pick.
And at a position where there are 50 more people available, you
Well,
know?
let's just talk about players at that kind of draft capital. David Johnson's been very disappointing.
Yeah.
I'm definitely worried about him just volume-wise, and even the Cardinals as an offense, obviously. I think this – I'm not going to say it's a bust, but 1 or 2 more weeks, and then I'll say it's a bust.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think there was a little bit of improvement this week. And also I think Josh Rosen is starting week 4.
The starter, yeah. He's been named the starter.
So not that he'll be good right away, but like that's room for optimism. You know that whatever he is in week 4, he'll be better by the end of the season. Bradford, that wasn't going to be true.
Can't hurt. Yeah, no, it can't hurt.
Man, look, here's the thing is like these first round running backs that are struggling, like if the problem is there isn't somebody else that goes and does that instead of them. There's just fewer good running backs. You know what I mean? And so like there's a point where like, you know, it's one thing if you're like if you were sick of David Johnson and could get Christian McCaffrey, would you do it?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, fine. Well, that's an idea, right? Of like, okay, maybe McCaffrey, maybe there's a couple guys in that tier that emerge, but there isn't an Alvin Kamara every year. There isn't like, you know, Bell, Gurley, DJ, Zeke. These have been the top picks the last couple of years. Other players aren't as good as them, you know? And I feel like David Johnson, like I said, maybe you only get the 9th best running back and not the 3rd or 4th, but like, unless you can get Christian McCaffrey for him, I'd hold on to him. He's going to get better. And if you don't have him, I don't have him, I would want to find the guy in my league who feels the way you do and try to get him.
28 carries yesterday. He can't do that every week. His body's just going to break down. I don't see that working.
So in one league, the guy who has him loves him. He's not available. In our league, I'm kind of stacked at running back. It would be overkill and not worth the risk that it would be to acquire him. And in my 3rd league, I don't know, maybe. We'll see.
Let's point out that Mo has Gurley and Kamara, and let's get to the next subject. So screw you, Mo.
By the way, I drafted Kamara last year.
Kamara. I give you a lot of credit for drafting Kamara. And you traded for Gurley, no? Did you trade for Gurley?
Gurley I traded for.
Yeah.
Gurley, I tanked. My season tanked. I packed it in. I traded whoever I had to a contender and who gave me Gurley in his rookie year. And then I drafted David Johnson, though, late.
Smart.
Held on to him for a year. Gurley, I rode through that tough second year with Jeff Fisher. I mean, I don't want to take too much credit, but like I'm okay at identifying running backs.
Well, you know, you stay loyal to the players that you draft, and you don't cut bait too soon. Let me tell you about a team. I guess. Are you worried about the Patriots this year?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, but at the same time, like, doesn't it feel like they kind of do this every year now?
Me too.
They got thumped last year. Like they really show up to do badly on a early season night game.
I feel like they do it on purpose, man. I feel like they do this primetime week 3-4 thing early in the season and to look bad. And I
think maybe this is their strategy. Is like, you know, as it is, all their skill position players are all these interchangeable, decent but not great parts, right? Like except for when they go out and try to get somebody. But like all of these Edelman, Chris Hogan, Amendola types of receiver, they're all interchangeable. They're all good. All the running backs are interchangeable. They're all good. None of them are great. None of them are indispensable. And what it is, it's a war of attrition. So in week 1, when everybody's fresh and everybody's lineups are stacked, other teams look better than the Patriots because they have better athletes who make more money and cost more draft capital, and they have a lot more talent. You know, but then in week 5, the good players are tired or they're gone, and there's these scrubs in. And meanwhile, whichever Patriot players are healthy, they're on the field and they're good and they're better than them and they ride it out. And then like this like machine gets going, you know?
One thing I am excited about is Sony Michel. I think the Patriots realize that they want this guy to be their first and second down guy.
Yeah.
And I know Burkhead injured his neck a lot yesterday, so Burkhead may be getting less play, obviously, but I think Sony Michel may emerge very soon and have himself a very nice fantasy game in the next coming weeks. So
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think that he's a better player than Rex Burkhead if given the opportunity, right? And now he'll have the chance to be. And see, and I was excited about him early in the season, just because like all this thing I'm saying about interchangeable cogs in the Patriots. Whenever there's a departure from that, I get excited about it, And so, maybe Belichick is changing this aspect of it because he went out and got Michelle, and now he's gone out and gotten Gordon. Like he's looking for splash playmakers, I think, to go along with the entire huge stock of like pretty decent guys who are good at doing their job. So Michelle, I'm excited for Gordon when he is on the field. And I think that, Chris Hogan is a guy who it might just be he's just a guy, but having Gordon on the field will help him.
yeah.
And then there's still hope that if he can get it going, maybe he can hold Edelman off if Edelman's old and no longer on steroids or whatever, There's a chance that Edelman, but also if Hogan turns out to be just a guy, then Edelman's more than just a guy. Edelman will come back and
yeah. So that'll be good. It'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Who else stuck out yesterday for you?
I was going to ask you. So you're a Lions fan. Congratulations to the Lions for getting off the Schneid, beating the Patriots.
You're welcome on behalf of the Detroit Lions because no.
Yeah. So how did you feel about the Lions now? Forget your fandom for now, but like you're a fan, so you pay attention to them. How do you feel about their fantasy prospects? Again, Marvin Jones, everybody.
Okay, I'll give you like 45 seconds. I'm a fan. I can't stand Matt Patricia's face. I thought they should have kept Caldwell. You don't fire a coach after going 9-7 and losing half of your team with injuries. With that said, I think Kerryon Johnson can emerge as a running back.
Mm-hmm.
I felt good, man. I mean, when you have three great wide receiver targets, I was very impressed with the offensive line. I was impressed with Frank Ragnow, their first-round draft pick. I'm not really sure how bad I know the Patriots are bad last night, so I don't know if it's a reflection. I mean, the Lions looked like the worst team in the NFL in Week 1, losing to the Jets by a lot. But I am excited. I have optimism. I think if the line can stay strong, I think Stafford can do Stafford things.
Yeah,
and I think the defense will be all right, man. Patricia is a defensive mind, right? So I'm optimistic because the Packers are 1-2. The Vikings, I think, are 1-1, and the Bears, I believe, are 2-1. So the division's up for grabs. No one's running away. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a knee, so I think if the Lions can play like they did last night, Kenny G is the real deal. So I think, defenses need to account for 3 receivers now. That's pretty scary. So I'm optimistic again, but I don't like looking at my coach.
Yeah. Also, I just want to point out, Matt Patricia, his team looked terrible the first 2 weeks of the season. And then along comes Bill Belichick to lose a prominent night game early in the season. All of a sudden, he's off of Matt Patricia. I don't know. I'm just saying. It's interesting, right? Now, my real take is that box score didn't look all too inflated. And you notice everybody kind of got theirs. And that didn't seem like that hard a box score to replicate. Like, I feel like, people are wondering, is it possible for Detroit to have 3 startable wide receivers? I'm like, yeah, I think so. And what you saw last night, they all got like a pretty even sprinkling of yards. And it's just a question of where do the touchdowns go? You know? And I think that Golladay might be the best touchdown guy there. Jones, a threat. Tate has a hard time getting to the end zone.
Yeah, he's not a touchdown guy. And I was listening to the Fantasy Pros podcast before we got on, and they were making a point about the LA Ram receivers. And they're like, are these guys all fantasy relevant? And they are, because the Rams don't really throw to the tight end. They throw to Gurley 4 to 6 times a game. And then they throw to Woods, Kupp, and Brandon Cooks, obviously. And I feel like the Lions also do not throw to the tight end. They will throw to Theo Riddick 5 times a game. And the rest is going to be going to those 3 guys, Kenny G. I call him Kenny G like everyone else, Marvin Jones, and Golden T.
Yeah. So. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. I like Golden Tate as a player, but as a fantasy player, I'm afraid he's relegated to actually in PPR status, because
I don't want to talk about PPR.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but that's the thing. I hate to say Golden Tate, but you are now in the PPR dungeon. You are now a PPR guy to me.
Who else did you want to talk about? We'll try and wrap this up in the next 3-4 minutes. So, like, who was?
Well, okay, real quick. So another Jimmy Garoppolo, unfortunately, out for the season.
Or rest in peace, Jimmy G.
Yeah. You know what? By the way, you know who I blame? You know who I blame? All you weirdos who were just like so proud of yourselves for how much you kept calling him handsome and making everything weird, and that bad energy just got to him. That's what I think happened. So, like, guys, act like you've been around a good-looking person before, and then maybe we'll all get along fine. You know what I mean?
Best-looking guy on IR in the NFL right now.
No, you weirded him out, and he got hurt and left. That's what. Great. How is that any different than like? Anyway, no, but so now with Garoppolo gone, is there any hope for the San Francisco offense?
No,
offense?
Over. They're done. Next question.
I think Kittle is proving that he's a pretty good tight end, and I think pretty good tight ends can flourish anywhere. Pretty good tight ends are like weeds. They just sort of manage to grow no matter what, good conditions and bad. And, Matt Breida, I think people have been riding him as a hot hand. Maybe that won't continue, but, like, he looks like he's a pretty decent, useful player. You know?
Besides those two guys, drop your Niners. I don't feel great about Goodwin. And
Alfred Morris looked okay yesterday, but I think he's going to be too game script dependent, and I don't think the game scripts are going to work out for him. But Breida is always going to be on the field because he can run the ball all right, and he's going to be there for passing downs. It's going to be a lot of passing downs, you know.
I've already dropped my Niners. They're already off my roster.
I mean, I never had any to begin with, so there you go.
No, I'm just joking. I have Pettis, so as you know, I have Pettis, so I will be dropping him probably at some point. But it's too bad. I hate injuries. Part of the game. It sucks. So
that's why you gotta be prepared. You gotta be prepared for them. You know, you can't. You know, you hear people talk about when they draft their team or whatever. It's like, oh, I drafted so and so, and he's gonna be my RB2 all year. And I'm like, don't say that, man. You can't count on anybody.
Draft for depth. Draft
the best players you can with every pick you have, but like draft as if you're not going to have them all year.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. That's like you got to draft as if you're going to lose them. You know what I mean? Like I drafted running back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 overall, fine, but I'm also drafting 3 running backs late, giving myself a chance of finding somebody. You know what I mean? Like things like that, or like. Don't draft a wide receiver if 75 other wide receivers are going to be a threat to him, you know? But I do think that a good offense, a good NFL offense can support 4 credible pass catchers. Whether that's 2 receivers, a tight end, a running back, 3 receivers and a running back. I don't know of any teams that have 3 good receivers and a tight end right now, so maybe your running back's got to be in there, but like yeah, I think a good offense will have. Yeah, look at that. Kansas City, you have Hill, Watkins, Kelsey, and I mean, Ware more than Hunt so far, but the running back. The Rams, same thing, 3 receivers and Gurley. Tampa's got 3 receivers and a tight end. There you go. So, I mean, it's possible. I think a good offense can support, and Detroit as well. 3 receivers, and
Well, just ask Geronimo Allison, who's played pretty well this year so far. So.
Yeah, he and Cobb both may have decided that Allison is the number 2 ahead of Cobb.
No one wants to start Geronimo Allison. No one has the guts to start Geronimo Allison, but everyone has them on their bench because he's a Packer. So
but that's the thing. I think Allison is a guy that you have on your bench and you're hopeful that you can start him. And Cobb is a guy that you have on your bench. And now I'm starting to think that like he's the first guy I drop if I need. I mean, one of my leagues is a really shallow league. So Cobb's the last guy on my bench, and I've been staying put. But now I'm like, I think I need to drop him.
Any final thoughts on today?
I don't know. I mean, I'm excited about this game. I'm hoping that we have a shootout and lots of fantasy matchups are swung tonight. I don't have anything riding on tonight's games really, so I know you do, so I'm hoping you do well.
Will you be watching the game?
I think so. It'll be on in the background while I'm doing stuff.
It's Ryan Fitzpatrick on Monday Night Football. He's not going to be handing off the ball. He's going to be chucking it around the field, and it's going to be fun to watch. So, and the Steelers, who need to prove to Le'Veon on prime time that they don't need him. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you know what, man? I think that in regards to that whole thing, I think we all need to get past our own selfishness about what we want to happen to our teams. And we need to just respect the fact that we're in a different time now for the NFL and the way people do business and the way everyone has to do business. And yeah, I just think like, if you're going to criticize someone for something that they're doing. Don't criticize someone because what they're doing doesn't suit your needs. You know what I mean? Like, at the very least, like, you know, any unintangibles, if there's any kind of a crowd that we're building here, like, let's be the pleasant part of the internet that's interested in fantasy football. You know, let's not be part of all of this madness that's out there. That's like, it's awful. You know what I mean? I don't want to be a reason why NFL players hate fantasy football. I want to be a reason why NFL players like fantasy football. You know, you have knowledgeable fans who care about the players and like really know how to value their performance on and off the field. Like, that's the stuff that's why you play fantasy football. You know, do it for the players, not for the owners. You know?
Hey, amen to that, brother. I'm with you on that. We want to keep it fantasy friendly over here. So, would you mind taking us out? And
not at all, guys. Thank you very much for letting me have that little rant. I'd love to say that it's not like me to do that, but we all know that it is. But guys, yeah, thank you very much for joining us as always, because we have a lot of fun doing this. Thank you for commenting, by the way. People have been leaving questions and comments on YouTube and stuff like that. Thank you. We love it. We love it.
There's comments, and if you do comment, you know, we'll probably answer it pretty quickly. We're happy to get comments and respond and help you out with your decisions. So it's what we would want from you. So we're happy to provide it. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, within reason, we're quite available. So if you want,
we're available for opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Now I'll take us out. But
thank you so much for joining the Unintangibles Fantasy Football Podcast. We will be back very soon